Welcome to Trauma Bay. Have you ever walked away from a conversation with a strange feeling in your gut, knowing something wasn't right, but not being able to explain why? Maybe you said yes when you wanted to say no. Maybe you agreed to something that went against your instincts. Maybe you kept the peace at the cost of your own sanity. And only hours or days later it hit you. You were manipulated. Again. It's a word people throw around casually, but manipulation isn't some cartoonish scheme of hypnotic control. It's subtle, it's slow, and it often comes dressed as love, loyalty, kindness, or concern. That's what makes it dangerous. Most people don't realize they've been manipulated until the damage is done, until they've already given away their time, their energy, their values, and sometimes even their soul. But here's the brutal truth. No one tells you. You're not manipulated because you're weak. You're manipulated because you still believe people play fair. Niccolò Machiavelli, the Italian philosopher who wrote The Prince, understood something that modern psychology keeps proving again and again. Power doesn't operate in moral frameworks. It operates in psychological ones. Machiavelli believed that people are more often driven by their desires, fears, and ambitions than by ideals. That kindness, honesty, and virtue are tools, not truths. If you really want to stop being manipulated, you don't need to become cruel, but you do need to become aware of the game you're in. The first rule of never being manipulated is this: stop assuming everyone has good intentions. That doesn't mean you become paranoid or cynical. It means you accept the fact that most people are playing a game, and many of them don't even realize they're playing it. Some manipulate to survive, some to win, some to feel better about themselves. But it's all a game of power. Machiavelli famously wrote that it is better to be feared than loved, if you cannot be both. That's not because fear is noble. It's because fear protects you. Love, on the other hand, can become a leash. When people know you crave their approval, when they sense that you're scared of disappointing them, they gain leverage over you. They don't need to threaten you. They just need to look slightly disappointed. And suddenly, you're bending over backward to prove you're good, you're loyal, you're worthy. This is where psychological manipulation thrives, in your hunger to be seen as good. Manipulators don't always lie. In fact, the best ones use truth, half-truths, twisted just enough to confuse you, but not enough to alarm you. They build a narrative, slowly, brick by brick, until you're standing in a mental prison you helped construct. They'll say things like, "You're too sensitive. You're overreacting. Why would I hurt you? I love you." And you start doubting yourself, not them. That's not an accident. That's psychological warfare. To stop being manipulated, you must learn to recognize the tactics, not react to them, not argue with them. Recognize them. The moment you argue, you're already inside their frame. They've pulled you into the script. The trick is to step outside it. Machiavelli would say, "Control the narrative or be controlled by it." He advised princes to appear virtuous while acting ruthlessly behind the scenes, because he knew appearances are what people believe. But here's the part no one tells you. The manipulator is often doing the same thing, smiling on the outside, strategizing on the inside. They'll flatter you while calculating how to make you doubt your own perception. They will plant guilt like a seed and water it with false concern. What's your defense? Radical self-respect. Not the surface-level kind that demands praise and validation. The deeper kind. The kind that says, "I trust my instincts, even when they're inconvenient." The kind that doesn't negotiate boundaries. The kind that doesn't explain itself to people who aren't entitled to explanations. Most manipulation succeeds because people are afraid of being disliked. Machiavelli would laugh at that fear. He knew that being liked is unstable. People change their opinions on a whim. But being respected, or even feared, That's more predictable. In psychological terms, manipulators scan for vulnerability, for uncertainty, for a gap they can slide into. When you fear rejection, they control you with silence. When you fear confrontation, they control you with drama. When you fear abandonment, they control you with attention, just enough to keep you hooked. Never forget this. Manipulators need your cooperation. They need you to explain, to justify, to prove. So stop giving them that power. You don't have to explain why you said no. You don't have to answer every question. You don't have to justify your feelings. That silence you're afraid of, it's your shield, your pause, it's your power. Machiavelli believed that a wise ruler must learn how not to be good. That doesn't mean being evil. It means being strategic. There's a time to be generous and a time to be ruthless, a time to speak and a time to say nothing, and most importantly, a time to walk away. You see, walking away is the nuclear weapon against manipulation. It's the move they don't expect. Because manipulators thrive on engagement. They want your emotions, your attention, your reactions. The second you become calm, silent, and detached, the spell breaks. You become unpredictable. And that terrifies them. Many people think the goal is to always be kind, always be understanding, always give people the benefit of the doubt. But that's not strength. That's conditioning. And manipulators know how to exploit it. Strength is knowing when to cut someone off without guilt, when to say no without explaining, when to let someone be upset with you and feel nothing. This isn't cruelty. It's clarity. The truth is, you can't always spot a manipulator right away. They're often charming, kind, even wounded. But here's the test. How do you feel around them over time? Are you confused more often than not? Do you constantly question your own memory, your own judgment? Do you feel like you're always one mistake away from losing their approval? That's your clue. That's not love. That's not friendship. That's psychological conditioning. The cure isn't confrontation. It's detachment. You don't need to win the argument. You need to exit the game. Machiavelli didn't write for the moral. He wrote for the powerful. And what he understood, long before psychology caught up, is that people are not as good as they claim. But they are predictable. Understand their fears, and you understand their moves. Understand their patterns, and you dismantle their plans. You don't need to be aggressive. Just unbothered, controlled, a mystery. Because once a manipulator realizes you're not reacting, you're not biting the bait, you're not playing their game, they lose interest, or they panic. Either way, you win. So how do you never get manipulated again? You learn to sit with discomfort without seeking external relief. You become your own source of validation. You accept that some people will misunderstand you, hate you, smear you, and you keep walking. You study the patterns, not the words. You stop arguing with liars. You stop explaining yourself to the unreasonable. And above all, you stop seeking peace with people who profit from your confusion. The world is full of manipulators. But the moment you become immune to their weapons, guilt, approval, pity, fear, they lose their grip. Machiavelli said that fortune favors the bold. In this case, boldness is not about loudness. It's about inner strength. Quiet. Unshaken. A fortress no flattery can enter. No guilt can crack. That's how you win. Not by changing others, but by mastering yourself. And that is how you stop being manipulated, forever.